Hi, and welcome to the Beer Temple. I am Chris Quinn, and I have got some fun winter/Christmas beers to taste today. It is the holiday season. We're getting right up there. Apologies very quickly for not having these out as soon as possible. I ideally like to have 3 of these a week, believe it or not. It's been a while since I've had that. Hopefully with the store opening, that will be more possible. And as I mentioned, for those in Chicago, when I open these beers, I'm not going to finish these all tonight. You'd hate to see what happens to some of these beers. Some of them get dumped. But at the store, they're going to be open to taste, so every day I'm going to have stuff open. Maybe I'll have some picks and stuff, or just do a show from the store coming up soon. That's obviously been taking up a lot of my time. Very exciting. It'll be a nice little Christmas present to me and to Margaret and to Max to have the store finally open. So that's good. Keep an eye out for that online. We will be shipping online, selling online as well. So it's really for everybody, not just the people in Chicago. Maybe I'll send out little tasters of what I have left over. I won't do that. Real quick about the iTunes reviews. Wow. I think we're up to 93 now, which I think is a lot. I don't know. Then you go to look at like This American Life, and they have like 50,000 reviews, literally. And you're like, oh, well, I guess 93 isn't that much. But 90 of the 93 are 5-star reviews. The most recent is from Paul, who likes beer. I like beer too, Paul. Thank you very much for the 5-star review. And also Nate Ramignola, I think. Ramignola, I believe. I'm doing these from memories, guys, so thank you very much. Sorry if I didn't get your names perfect, but thanks as always. Anyone else who wants to leave a 5-star review, feel free. I always like it. So what do we have here? Last year I did Christmas beers, and they were American Christmas beers, I believe. So now I want to do Belgian Christmas beers, because to me, I don't know if traditionally Christmas beers were Belgian, but a lot of the older Christmas beers that I remember seeing and even reading about came from Belgium. There are also certainly winter beers and holiday beers from England as well, but really the Belgians know how to do it. So I've got 3 Christmas beers here, Christmas/winter beers here from Belgium, and we'll taste through them and see if they're any good. Usually I start this way to this way, but I think I'm gonna go small to big this time, maybe. Who knows? The first one you might notice, and it's like, wait a second, that's not a Christmas beer. That's Chamele Blue. I see it all over the place all the time. You do, but did you know that it started out as a Christmas beer? It's true. The Grand Reserve, which the big blue, the big bottle of blue says Grand Reserve, the small doesn't. Same beer. It's very weird. But Chamele has different names for their beers depending on if it's the big or the small. That's why one of the reasons everyone just calls it red, white, blue, I think them too, is how they refer to it. So a long time ago, this Chamele Grand Reserve, Chamele Blue, was brewed as a Christmas beer in 1940, well, late 40s, sometime, a long time ago. And shortly thereafter, they did make it a full year beer, but I think, for about 5, 6, 7, 8 years, they were doing it as a Christmas beer. So I thought that was kind of cool. And it also comes in not only the 750, but also the Magnum size. And I think even like a double Magnum, like really big bottles of it you can get. So that's really cool for Christmas. I've actually, I think, given this to someone as Christmas, as a Christmas gift, a big Magnum of Chamele Blue. So anyway, Chamele Blue is their biggest, some would say most highly regarded beer that the monks at Chamele make. This is a Trappist beer, meaning that it is brewed within the confines of a Trappist abbey and overseen, if not exactly brewed, by the monks themselves. So this is a non-profit abbey. They pretty much take all the profits. Well, I guess it is they take all the profits and then they put it back into the workings of the abbey or to their charitable giving. So it is a for-profit company owned by a non-profit, abbey, which is kind of weird. So anyway, this is a 9% beer. All these beers will keep very, very well. Belgian Christmas ales, and Christmas ales in general often last a long time. The one I always talk about is Anchor. That's kind of the one in America that is known for lasting really well. But the Belgian ones, honestly, a lot of them get better with age. So this one's not too terribly old. I think it was probably brewed this year or last year. So it's, let's call it 6 to 9 months. I didn't go and decipher the bottling date beforehand, so you know, not that critical for this particular beer. Maybe I'll give myself a little bit of a splash more. I really like this format. I love the bottle here. I love that it says, I don't know, something, Abbey, yeah, Abbey de Scarmont, which is the abbey located in Chamele that the beer is named after. So the name of the abbey isn't Chamele, it's just the Trappist Abbey located in the town of Chamele, which is what all of them are really named for. You know, the Westmalle, Westvaletrin, Orval. You know, it's named after the town that it's located in. So Chamele Blue, really nice ruby red color. I remember this beer being nice and spicy and a little bit sweet. So let's see, classic kind of big foamy, robust carbonation that you expect from Belgian Abbey style beers. Nice bit of kind of toffee and brown sugar. That kind of candied dark fruit note that you get from a lot of these darker beers. Now, I wouldn't necessarily if trying to classify this beer, you know, the Belgians really aren't into these big classifications like the Americans are. You know, the Chamele Red is kind of a classic double. I don't know if I would put this in the quad range. I would just go Belgian Dark Strong if I was going to kind of pick a style. Quiet in there. A really nice, if I had to pick like a dried cherry, spiced dried cherry, a little bit of maybe cinnamon in here. A very nice nose. What a good beer. Haven't had a Chamele Blue in a while, and it's a shame. It's a really great beer. Definitely my favorite of the Chameles. I'm getting a lot of really nice raisin flavors here, almost like a cinnamon raisin toast, because I'm getting some of those kind of toasty malts in there as well, with like that caramel malt. And the sugar that they add. You know, they do add sugar to these beers to kind of keep them somewhat light on the mouth, but still kind of higher in alcohol, and get some of those, you know, more interesting high alcohol flavors. Somewhat chewy, but not overly thick on the mouth. You know, it's still nice and light for a 9% beer. No bitterness to speak of at all. You know, a lot of people who don't like bitter beers, like these are kind of their beers of choice. Absolutely excellent beer. I'm going to go 94 for the Chamele Blue, and it's every bit of that 94. It's a great beer. Just great sugared dried fruit. Some nice pleasant spicing. I'm calling it cinnamon, but it could easily, you know, it's kind of those cookie spices, subdued, but very well done. I'll be surprised if this is not the one I end up drinking immediately after the show, but you never know. For example, the Chapeau Winter Goose. So, I'm gonna need, first of all, I'm gonna need a bigger boat when it comes to getting this cap off. This is gonna break my bottle opener, and then I noticed there's a cork under there, which I should have realized. Okay, hold on, just keep this running, and I'm gonna get the tools I need. Oh man, this is such a piece of junk. Let's see if this works. All right, I'm back. Depending on how long it took, maybe I'll just kind of cut from when it was empty. This is a really cheap wine opener that just happened to be there. It was one of those things where we are out and needed a wine opener, and we just, got whatever they had at the store. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Finally. So, De Troc is the brewer of Chapeau. I typically stay away from these beers. I will tell you that. They make a lot of like crazy lambics, like. Do you know that if you sneeze and punch them at the same time, the energy, if you can force into a punch, you will kill a man. They make really interesting, interesting is the wrong word, disgusting is what I meant to say, lambics that are like apricot and banana or pineapple. Apricot's not necessarily a bad one. And they're like these tropical, like really super duper duper sweet lambics that they make for the newer generation, I guess you would is what Michael Jackson called it, of the beer writer Michael Jackson, of these Belgian beer drinkers who didn't want the sourness, funkiness, craziness of a standard Goose. Goose is, I've done a show on it, look it up. I'm not going to go into too much right now, but it is the spontaneously fermented beer from the Lambic Valley or the Seine Valley in Belgium, near the town or area of Lambic and Brussels. And they are spontaneously fermented, meaning no yeast is added, just whatever yeast is kind of floating around in the air settles onto the unfermented wort and begins a natural fermentation. So it's really of that area, that, what do they call it, microflora exists there, and it doesn't necessarily exist here. So you can't just put your wort out here and make the same type of beer. Really awesome. If that interests you at all, and it really is interesting to me, check out the sours shows that I've done. I did a 3-part show on sours, and I've done some others in the past as well. So I've never had Chapeau on or De Troc, because it's really, they put so much syrupy, sweet stuff in there that you don't really get any of the flavor. But the interesting thing about these guys is I believe the brewery De Troc is the oldest lambic brewer in Belgium, I think. So, Cantillon and Dryfontenen and Boone, all these guys who are known as these wonderful, classic, old school brewers of this stuff, these guys have been doing it longer. Lindemans, not too bad. And they do make a classic Goose, whatever you want to call it, in Belgium, but you can't get it here. But I saw what this was called. It had the word Goose on it, and it's Winter Goose. I have no idea. I hope it doesn't end up being like really gross and sweet. If it does, that's why I'm tasting it, so you don't have to. But maybe it's just an interestingly spiced yet sour and funky Goose. I don't think so, but we'll see. Let's see. It's pretty clear at the bottom. I think there's some nasty sediment down there, but I'll try not to disturb it. Excuse my sniffles. Okay. So nice, clear lambic here, and it's does it say anything about it? Nope. Much darker than you would typically expect from Goose. So there is some musty funkiness in it. Hold on, be right back. I gotta blow my nose. Drive me nuts. Much better. Okay, so it has kind of like a bit of a cola, a bit of a carob note to it. It also definitely has some of that mousy barnyard hay quality. And there's some sweetness in there as well. I'm not getting a ton of like spicing, except for that cola. And maybe a little bit of like a Luden's cough drop. Those kind of like cherry cough drops. Kind of tastes like a Luden's cough drop. It's good. I mean, it's sweet. It's not sticky sweet. Light-bodied. No bitterness, which you would expect from this style. It's much more alembic than a blended Goose. You know, there's some sort of fruit syrup in here. A hint of that kind of musty mushroominess that I was getting on the nose, but not enough, not really, hardly any to speak of. It's a shame you can only just barely tell the character that's underneath. I don't know, I mean, 83, 84, it's fine. I mean, it's a beer that's been sweetened with a syrup. Not really my thing. Some people would find this absolutely delicious. If you have someone who says, I hate beer, I hate all beers, give them something like this, and they'll be like, oh, I like this, though. It's like one of those beers. But I think even if you're going to do that, I would definitely push you towards like a Lindemann Framboise over this. So, you know, fine. Doesn't really do it for me. You know, glad I tried it. Moving on to the Lashouf, nice Shouf from Brasserie Lashouf. Lots of Shoufs in here. I think that Shouf means like little gnome or something like this. You very well might have seen these guys in your finer bottle shops. They are one of the kind of newer breed of Belgian breweries. From the Ardennes Mountains, forest, something like that. From what I've heard, a very, very rustic setup originally. They were bought out by Duvel several years ago, so now they are kind of owned by those guys and overseen. They make like the Lashouf. They also make their interpretation of a Scottish beer called Mixhouf. A whole bunch of other ones that they do. I think they do like a hoppy guy, and this is their winter beer at 10%. Oh, what was this one, by the way? Did it even say? Yeah, it's probably like 5%, something like that. Be my guess. 10%. This is a big bad boy. It is spiced. I think it might even say what it's spiced with: thyme and curacao peel. So you know, curacao is what goes along with coriander in a typical wit beer and in a lot of Belgian beers in general. The thyme, you know, I guess it could have a nice kind of dried herb, Christmassy feel to it. Let's see. I'm going to give a tiny little pour here. Dump just to get some of that sweetness out. All right. Big bottle here. Darn, big hefty bottle. So yeah, they've been brewing this since '93 apparently. Okay. Let's look at it again. Ooh, really nice, striking dark red, like a ruby red, a little bit fiery black tones to it. Big head of foam that's slow to settle down, a little bit rocky. Even just from that pour, I can see kind of the rocky peaks of the foam here. Very nice looking beer. Definitely getting the orange peel. And I'm getting some of that same kind of not rock sugar, candy sugar that I was getting in the Chamele. A little bit brighter though, you know, a little bit more of a candied cherry rather than a dried, like raisined cherry. Maybe a little bit more of like an artificial cherry. Definitely that orange peel, the bitter orange peel. And, you know, there is a dried herb note to it. I don't know if I would pick out thyme just from the smell. Which isn't to say you wouldn't pick out thyme right from the smell. You know, easy drinker here. Kind of a deadly drinker for 10%. You know, I do get a little bit of mouth warm from, you know, this sitting in my mouth. Again, this is very typical with Belgian beers. Very low on the bitterness here. You know, Belgium is your friend if you are not a fan of bitter beers. Nice candied sugar to it. You know, spicing, I would say, yeah, it's spice, but I'm getting more of like a peppery style of spice. Definitely not the Christmas cookie that, oh man, this is like chipped. The glass is chipped when I pulled this off. I'm probably going to die of internal bleeding now. So this is probably the last time you'll ever see me. That's weird. I've never seen that happen. Rip like the shear off the glass of the top of the bottle. Getting back to this, while I now kind of see my life flash before my eyes. Certainly sweeter as well. So it's got that same kind of chewy mouth feel as the Chamele, but it's just actually a sweeter beer, which to me doesn't make it quite as drinkable. It might need food a little bit more. I think this would go lovely with food, but it doesn't necessarily need it. I think this, I kind of want some food or some cheese or something there to kind of, you know, just like refresh my palate. It's you know, the spicing isn't overly done, so I don't think you would necessarily need to age this beer for a long time. Sometimes when the beer is heavily, heavily spiced, it's because they want you to still taste it, you know, years down the road. This one, you know, not really getting a whole heck of a lot. I think there's better Belgian winter beers out there. Korsendonk makes a great one. The Kaiser Blau from Gudenbahn is a really good one. The blue, the red one's good too. But this guy, it's fine. It says it'll keep till 2014. I want to hold on to it till then, see what happens. It's fine. 87. It's an okay beer. I mean, this beer right here shines so far above either of them, if you ask me. Absolutely world class. This Chamele Blue. So that's what I'll pour for myself for right now. Right down the center, let all that foam kind of pour up. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. Man, there's been a lot of activity on Facebook, and people have just been calling me, which is kind of cool. You can, I think somewhere on the site is my phone number. That does go right to me, so you can call me. That will probably change very shortly, and it will go to the store. But for right now, yeah, I pick up the phone, and I'm saying, what do you want? So feel free to call or leave a review or anything like that. Thanks so much, guys. If I don't put out another show before Christmas, happy holidays. I'll try to do another one. And that's about it, guys. I've said it before, and I very much mean it right now. I've got some great beer to drink, and hopefully you do too.